there's no escape from us, you know. This is another exciting edition of Poet to Poet, and I'm Robert Dunn, and I get to host the Taffy Pull because I'm such a good hand with taffy. And we're coming to you from the Orange Bear, this edition, that is in Tribeca on Murray Street, convenient to City Hall, where the City Council comes and gets bombed every once in a while, and also to the World Trade Center, where they just come out for the sodas. In any event, we do our best to provide the finest in poetry for your listening entertainment, and we have two fine poets in the person of Rutha Rosen over here and G.A. Lee over there. G.A. came all the way from Jersey today, and we're kind of pleased about that.
In the rain.
In the rain, no less. Actually, Rutha crossed the river, too, because she came from Brooklyn, and well, everybody wants to come to Manhattan at least once and do the show, except when we're out in the outer boroughs. Anyway, let's go to the poets, shall we? We'll start with Rutha Rosen, who is a poet-songwriter from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Wow.
Boy, that's a commute.
Yeah, really.
Let's see, came to New York in 1984 as a result of the political situation in South Africa. Let's see, you started poetry to come to terms with what it was like growing up under the apartheid regime.
Yeah, that's right.
What was it like coming to terms with growing up under the apartheid regime?
Well, you know, when I first came to this country, I came because things were really bad in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And it was only after leaving South Africa that I really started learning and understanding what things were like in South Africa. Mm-hmm. As a white person, you know, you were shut off from the realities of what was going on. And in America, you were exposed to books and TV shows and people who had experienced horrible situations. And I started thinking about how it was for me and wrote poetry to kind of come to terms with things.
What made you decide to come to New York as opposed to Fresno or Ashtabula?
It was circumstance.
Really?
Yeah, I was married at the time, and my husband got a job in New York.
Uh-huh. And let's see, you're doing social service work these days.
Yes.
What particularly?
I supervise a day treatment program for mildly retarded adults.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, does that help you deal with some of the poets that we've run into?
That's a common question.
What's the common answer? Or is there one? I know. I'm going to get letters. Well, that's okay. I like mail as long as it doesn't say this bill is overdue.
No, really.
All right. How about a poem?
Okay. The first poem I'm going to do is called Johannesburg, 1965. Between 1 and 2 in the afternoon, when the sun is ablaze in a sulphur sky, and the flies break the still air as a tuning fork disturbs the silence, the neighborhood servants gather in the shade of the great jacaranda. Lazy on white sheets smoothed over baked earth, they gossip until the storm clouds swell on the horizon. And I, indifferent to my toys, hover on the edge of their circles waiting, until looking up they draw me in, one to hold me still, another to braid my slippery hair. And though I do not understand when they speak, I know their laughter and rock quietly to its rhythm.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. About how old were you in the poem? Not when you wrote it, but...
About 7 or 8.
Were you starting to get inklings of what was going on at that age, or were...
No.
Or were the kids at that age sheltered in that environment?
The kids were very sheltered in that environment, but I do remember at the age of 8 wondering why all servants and nannies were black. Mm-hmm. And not really understanding that.
Mm-hmm. All right. How about another poem?
Okay. The next poem is called One Day in Harlem. On the corner of 125th and Amsterdam, I saw a woman beautiful as a dark night. Her shining tray of trinkets called to me from across the street, inviting me to buy. The Zulu love beads twisted around my white throat attracted her conversation until she knew I too was an African. Then, like a blue day suddenly erupts into storm, her face darkened, and roaring, limb-shaking, spat spears of rage, violent lava vomited from the bowels of an angry earth. Swiftly, an ostrich seeking to hide its head, I lowered my gaze. From the blurring, swirling sea of color her table had become, I clutched an earring, rubbing it with my thumb, soothing myself on the cool smooth of the stone. I don't know how long I stood there, silently nodding my head. But when I looked up, she was still quite beautiful.
When you go around town and people find out where you're from, do you find yourself having to explain it or defend it?
10 or 12 years ago, I had a really hard time being from South Africa. But now, now that South Africa's free and things are different, no, I don't find that at all. I actually feel really proud.
Well, that's good to hear. How about another poem?
Okay.
Something else you can be proud of, I think.
Okay, I'm going to do one more poem that's South Africa related. This poem is called Ghosts, and I wrote this after going back to South Africa in 1991, and these are my feelings. A prisoner of the empire, the tide roaring in, howling like a leopard, thorns in my skin, lost in a mock Sahara of pure white dune, an adolescent penguin in a crater of an imitation moon. Everywhere I go, the ghosts are watching me. They infiltrate the hinterlands of my identity. Silent as the spider bites, they sap my curiosity, leaving only faded shots of jaded immorality. Everywhere I go, the ghosts are watching me, hovering like hummingbirds, enticing me like honeybees, alluring me to join them in illusion like a moon upon the sea.
Beautiful.
You know, when my ghosts start watching me, I charge them admission.
That's probably a good thing to do.
Oh boy, you must make them rich, right?
Make them rich? I mean, they're supposed to be making me
They make
rich.
you
That's,
rich.
that's their
Right,
job.
right,
You must be
right,
really
right.
rich.
Right?
No.
Right?
Well, maybe not.
teasing
Maybe
you.
not in worldly goods, but certainly in spirits. Ooh, did I say that?
Yeah,
Do you have
I'm
anything
teasing
like
you.
that in Jersey, G.A.?
Like what?
Ghosts floating around, or?
A lot.
We'll be getting to that pretty soon.
No, that's a secret.
Oh, but we love prying into people's secrets around here. Well,
You're out of luck.
you're not the only woman who's ever told me that. So Rutha, what other poems do you have in there?
Well, let's move to a different theme, perhaps. Okay, this is one of the most recent poems that I've written. It's called The Tower of Babel. And it goes like this. To think they might build a city to the stars, to the center of creation, where cycles begin and end, fools that they were. First they dug the dark earth, hand over hand, brick upon brick, rhythmic pace echoing the beating heart. Come, let us make a name for ourselves, lest we dissipate on the face of the earth. Their words were of essence, the essential song tempted by the closeness of light. If like of mind is hemp and like of action mortar, let us look up and rejoice, for it is the evening of the morning of the first day, and yet they knew not of vanity. And so it seemed when thunder struck in roaring or retaliation that it was sudden, unexpected, without mercy. That night fell on nuance and darkness on the face of the deep. But it was gradual, the way of the tide, the slip of the tongue. From the heat of the heart they hid in a robe of volition, speaking neither in chord nor on cue, metaphorical wars of attrition. It was without form and void. And it came to pass, looking down from above, that their eyes had been opened, and they saw that they were naked and were ashamed to think they might build a city to the stars, fools that they were.
And Rutha, do you have any advice for the aspiring poets who might be watching our show looking for hints?
Well, for me, I think I like to have something that I want to write about before I actually start writing. And then I sit down and try and think of the simplest way to say it so that I can use as few words as possible.
I copy mine from old cereal boxes myself. Anyway, Ruth, I want to thank you for coming on Poet the Poet, and we'll be back with G.A. Lee in a moment, but we also have a surprise coming up, so don't disappear, because we won't.